Hey, hi Paula.
Hey Ryan, hi everybody.
Hi. Okay, so thanks for joining. And you were joining me from New York, so it's 9 o'clock there, right?
Yep, it's 9 o'clock.
Okay. What's happening in New York right now?
What's happening in New York? It's a summer night in New York. The streets aren't too busy, but there's people outside. It's a mellow summer night.
Okay.
It's actually beautiful. It's not too hot.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah. We had lightning storms and rains, but it's nice out here too. And what else was I going to say? Uh, so lightning has been pretty cool here. There's been like last night was like horror film lightning. It was just a lot.
huh.
So, yeah. Um, so you and I know each other from working at the Guggenheim Museum.
Yes, you were the person who hired me and introduced me to museum education,
No
which I,
way.
yes, you are, which I love. So Ryan, you always have a very special place in my heart because of that. It was
Well, thank you. That's very nice to hear. Um, Great. Linda is saying it's nice weather in DC too. Great. Yeah.
Hi,
So
Shinsuke.
yeah, you know what? I thought that you had been touring at the Rockefeller Center.
I did, but I was a tour guide at Rockefeller Center, which I loved, but it wasn't museum education.
Oh.
So I,
Oh, interesting. So,
I mean,
so
it
really,
was,
it was your first art museum, huh?
yes, it was my first art museum. My Rockefeller Center was like a package tour with
I
art and, history. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Were you having to do the mural? Isn't there a big
Yeah,
mural?
we did the mural. We did the where the Diego Rivera mural used to
That's
be.
right, Diego Rivera. Yeah.
Yeah. And for a while they used to let us ride up to the Rainbow Room. It was lovely.
Oh, Rainbow
Yeah.
Room. Huh.
It's on the top of 30 Rock.
That's like a gay club they have there.
No, it can be a gay club. It can be any type of club. It's just a very fancy nightclub that dates back to, I don't know what year it opened, but it's beautiful. There's a lot of Art Deco up there, and there's
Cool.
a circular floor that revolves.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, it's really lovely.
Cool. So I am. You feel like doodling?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So let's. I'll switch up the camera.
Okay, I set up this whole contraption.
Oh, good, good. My contraption. I was feeling so confident this morning, but now my contraption's having some problems.
So you got to let me know if you can hear me okay. That's the
Yeah,
only thing.
yeah, it's good. Yeah. So, folks out there who might be joining us, I feel like everyone tonight is a regular, so you all know what the drill is if you're interested. Um, and that is to feel free to join us as we draw. And the drawing is doodling. So that means any mark making, anything that you do is terrific. And there is no expectation to do anything for anyone but yourself. And Paula is a great artist. You can check out what Paula does on her Instagram.
Yeah, I love to draw and I love to doodle.
Yeah, you feel like, so do you doodle as part of your work, or I guess,
I don't really, well, when I think of doodling, I think of the first thing I always think about is school because I doodled my way through school.
oh,
I'm
really?
thinking of like K through 12. And and I doodle if I'm in a meeting.
Yeah. Oh, I think we lost you. Oh, okay, maybe you'll come back. We've lost the sound. Are folks able to hear me? I'm just curious. Could you put something in the chat, folks? Oh, okay. Let's see if we can get people able to hear me. Okay, thank you. I was like, ah. maybe Paula will come back to us. It might have just been a connection. I think more people are using Instagram, and because of that, maybe it has having more technical problems. But Paula will probably join us. Yes, Paula is completely gone. Maybe what I'll try to do is invite her to come back. Okay, we're inviting her to come back, and in the meantime, hey, hi.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry
I
about
think
that.
I think we lost a signal or something. But
Okay.
like I said, there's these electrical storms here, so I have no idea what is going on with the electrical field that we're all part of.
All right.
Yeah. So you were talking about your process?
Yes, I draw a lot when I'm making art. I love drawing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of it differently than doodling. Uh, I don't know. When I'm doodling, I don't know. Often the times when I've doodled, like when I doodled through school, it was to pay, I don't know, just because I was trying to focus on it or I was bored and I just loved making marks. But sometimes I feel that way when I'm drawing.
Right. I think that usually when I'm drawing, I have some kind of intention.
Yeah.
And a lot of times with the doodling, it's really just making shapes or lines, and that's enough for me.
Yes.
Um, it was interesting. This last weekend on Saturday, I did this live. I did the show live with two guests.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anyone out in our studio audience that was able to catch the live recording of Doodle with me on Saturday? I'm just curious people's opinions if you want to tell us in the chat. But it was a weird experience because it was having to be live and having to be online became like a little too much, I mean, it was all right. I enjoyed it, and I think the conversations were great. My guests were great. But what was interesting was doodling kind of allows me to listen and also to, in a different sort of way,
So when you did it live, Ryan, I tuned in for like a minute and then my computer kind of went out on me, but I saw people spread out sitting at tables.
Yeah.
So were people like doodling with strangers or with friends? And
I think a combination of strangers and friends. Yes, the sound was bad, is what I'm hearing from Linda. I don't know if that was other people's experience, but it was a technical challenge. It was interesting. I don't know. It's such a strange thing. I thought it would be less isolating than being online, but in some ways it was kind of more. I have to tell you, these are existential times for me. I don't know about you, Paula, but sometimes I feel like I am like some crazy astronaut in space, and I'm just trying to like connect with other people in their space capsules. That's kind of.
I got it.
Oh no, your sound went out. Oh, folks, I might have a tantrum. That's what's going to happen tonight. Well, we'll just continue on.
Oh, Ryan, I'm sorry. I don't know what happens. It keeps going off.
Oh, you might be bumping it or something, huh? Well, you know what? We'll keep managing. Oh.
Okay. It's that old space capsule.
Okay, space capsule. Well, I still see your. Oh, you're starting a new doodle. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yes. It looks a little bit like it looks a little like a black hole.
You know what? It does.
I don't like to tell people what their stuff looks like, but I did.
You can always tell me what it looks like.
So we have the connection with museum education, and we also make art.
Uh-huh.
Have you? And it sounds like you've been able to make more art lately.
I did actually.
Okay, so I've lost sound, but I know you'll come back. Oh my goodness. There we go. I hear you now.
Yeah, Ryan, I really don't know what's happening. So,
Okay, we'll just keep going with it. It might be your reception. You're having a little bit of a reception thing, but
but yeah, but making art was a good thing about this year for me.
yeah,
How about for you?
yeah. I mean, I made a whole series of work, and it was kind of a way to um, get into my studio, my new studio. Um, and at first it was lovely, and then it's just maybe a little more disorienting. But gosh, I have done more podcast listening, more TV watching, more doodling than probably ever. It's like it's like we're all in the same hospital room, but we can't talk to each other. God. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little morbid today. So,
No. Well, I like watching.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
before I tuned out, what I was saying is I like watching people doodle. There's just
Yeah,
something relaxing about it.
yes, it is great. And hi, Chow. It's great. And everyone does it differently. And I love it when people send me their drawings just because you can really see it.
Uh-huh.
I'm still trying to figure out like how to post people's drawings, but I also kind of went back and forth about, I don't want to be results oriented.
Uh-huh. No, I know what you
So
mean.
do I want to share their work? Because that's not like I don't want to encourage it, but anyway, it's a whole struggle. I'm trying to keep with my philosophy.
Yeah.
Um,
And for me, doodling is something that it's totally, I don't know, it's kind of nice to have you don't worry about, oh man, you don't worry about where it's going or what you're going to do with it.
yeah, yeah, it's true. I agree. What other things do you like about summer? You said you like to barbecue. What have you been doing this
Uh,
summer?
well, I really haven't been doing that much, actually. Uh, Trying to get to the new, or adjusting to our new situation. It's been nice in the city to be able to go to museums and go out. And I like the hot weather,
Yeah,
you know. Uh, I like the city streets. I like the sound of the city in the summer, the
yeah,
partying and the music. And
yeah. Well, I remember New York was a place that in summer a lot of people left, and then the tourists would come. So it was kind of a double whammy. Like I loved being there during summer because
yeah.
it felt like there was less people, but then there were more tourists.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I remember my first summer there, I thought to myself, I am never going to wear flip-flops because this city is so dirty.
Oh,
I would
Brian.
come home and my feet would just be like grimy. But then by the second summer, I think I was just relaxed enough to just let my feet get dirty. So I did start wearing flip-flops.
Uh, you grew into the situation.
I grew in the situation. There's a kind of I don't know, a kind of abject quality to living in New York,
Uh-huh.
where you're just all kind of in a situation where you share the same dirt together.
Yeah.
I don't
I,
know, but
do you miss
summer
it,
was a good
Brian?
time for that. You know, in retrospect, I have to say I can be nostalgic about it, and that feels really good. I think during the time, um, there was, you know, it wasn't always the best.
Uh-huh.
Um, I I was single, which was hard for me,
Uh-huh.
um, and so thank you for asking. But and but at the same time, I was living by myself and I hadn't for a while before that, and so that was really kind of exciting and kind of awful, and you know, just the whole mood ring of living like that. It's an interesting city because you feel like you have a lot of company, but then at the
You
same
do.
time, I was also kind of very alone. I was still trying
Hmm.
to kind of make a community I was part of, and as that started happening, it got better and better. Um, I think, yeah, it's very confusing. It's a very specific experience, uh, and I loved the time I had there. It's not the same place I lived before.
Uh-huh.
You know, it completely changes, um, and from when I've been there, I mean, it's not the same place. So I imagine if I were to go back, it would be completely starting over. I do miss all the art. I miss, you know, sorry I'm going off, but I just miss the feeling that I was special by living there.
Huh. That's
You
funny.
know,
I always said I would never live in the city, but then never say never.
right. And what keeps you there?
Uh, I like a city. I like this city. It's so open in so many ways. I love the culture. I feel comfortable here. And I'm not sure where I'd want to go besides the city.
Yeah.
So
Where,
that's a big thing.
how long have you lived there?
I moved here in 97
Oh,
to go to grad
okay.
school. I lived in Chicago
Uh-huh.
for about 8 years or 9 years, and I lived in Boston for about 10 years.
There's a lot of people from Chicago and Tucson, I've noticed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I've met a lot of people who, you know, I guess it's like, uh, it's a stop for people, but yeah, so you, and so you kind of have stayed. Have you ever fallen out of love with it? Like, have you just had enough?
I mean, sometimes the city can be really tough. It doesn't work for you. It's just, just the way it is. And it can be frustrating. I think everybody feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you think?
but
What do you
I don't
think's
know.
frustrating about it?
I don't know. It's a tough city. It's a fast city. It's fast paced. It's a hard city. It's not easy. It's not accessible in lots of different ways. It's just it's a, it's a city, and it can be trying at times. But I mean, there's a
Hmm.
lot I really love about cities. I love the culture in cities. You know how you were saying you felt alone, but you felt that you were surrounded at the same time. There's that
Hmm.
quality. And I
Hmm.
like that about cities. I mean, that you feel connected, but also sometimes you can feel incredibly lonely, even though
Right.
you're surrounded by people.
Right.
Um,
It's
uh,
a really interesting. You feel like you shouldn't feel lonely because you're surrounded by people, but in some
yeah,
ways it can make it
even
worse. It
worse.
really but I always had this sense that the people that I met there, we all took care of each other. And that
Yeah.
was a lovely thing, you know. We all knew how it was hard, and we all knew to take care of each other. Um,
Well, you must have really wonderful friends too, because that's
I,
a wonderful thing to say.
well, I think it was also, and Paul, I consider you part of that too. I mean, I, where I work, you know, I'm a weirdo in that when I work, that's part of my community wherever I work.
Uh-huh.
which is why it makes it so hard to work with assholes. You know, I just like, you're my family. I'm not going to put up with this. You know, it's like, no, that's not considered professional, Ryan. So that's not working. But
Well, I liked when we all worked together at the Guggenheim. I liked it
it
a
was
lot.
right. And there's a lot of people who continue to work there. Some real characters, and some, amazing educators. I mean, you all have been doing that for a long time by now. And
Yeah.
you must have some stories about what people say when they're looking at art or things that surprised you.
Oh yeah, I have a lot. Yeah, I do, and I think I love doing it. I was telling you earlier, I did my first live tour since March 11th of 220 yesterday, and it felt great. It was working with it was a visual description tour, and it
Yeah.
just was great to be. It was at the Museum of Art and Design with the Carrie Moyer and Sheila Pepe exhibition, which is
Oh,
great.
that
And they were
sounds,
young.
yeah.
It was great. They were young people, and we also visited with one of the artists who has a studio there, and I just cannot remember her name right now. And it just felt so good.
Yeah.
Um,
To be around
that
people. Yeah.
to be around people and to be around art and to generate what happens in that
Yeah.
situation. It felt really natural and it felt really good. And I think our visitors really enjoyed it as well. And you could tell.
Yeah. Doing the visual descriptive tours are so interesting because uh, it when I was doing them, it made me have to see the art differently,
Uh-huh.
and I had to experience it. I had to understand how the visitor I was working with was experiencing it.
Uh-huh.
It was you have to feel empathy. Like you can't just kind of go on automatic. That's kind of how I felt. It's like I I was working with someone who was partially visually um, sensitive, I guess. They could see only out of parts of their eyes. So
Uh-huh.
uh, we could go back and forth between what she was seeing, and then I could help her understand like how to make sense of it in terms of how the artist had painted it. Or it was really, yeah, it was really interesting.
It is, and you get better
Yeah.
as you do it. Actually, the visual description tours, those are one of the tours that actually worked really well online during this past year. I did it for a few museums, and I was kind of surprised by that. Um, so that was interesting. But you get better as you describe it, and I don't know.
Yeah. I remember
Um,
having to talk about, I remember having to describe the light in a painting, uh, like to say the light is like if you were in a shower and the
uh-huh.
water was hitting you from this direction. It's like, this is, and then like there was a part of me that was like, oh, I'm worried that I'm actually repainting the painting for this person. Like, this is my painting. What's going on? I gotta describe it right.
Yeah, well, that's what you kind of realize. Like, you never get it. You always fail on some level, as you try to
Right.
put it into words.
Yeah, that's actually a little bit of a theme from last week with Glenn. We were talking about kind of how words don't work. And I think that's in some ways, I mean, not to like plug Doodle with me, but I think that's what's interesting about Doodle with me is we have our words and we're using them, but then there's visual images that are also the communicating,
Uh-huh.
and it's communicating something on another level at the same time.
Hmm.
I find that interesting. Some
Yeah.
people are going to hear our words and some people are going to see the doodles and they're going to, get different impressions. In general, during the live part, most people had their face like on their page. So I think there was more
Uh-huh.
of a listening going on, but I do know that sometimes people will look. Speaking of art education, I was thinking, you're part of a group that's online about museum education, right? Don't you
Well,
do the?
when I used to work at the Museum of Modern Art as an educator, and they terminated all the contracts of their freelancers, um, right at the end of March. And three of us, me and two colleagues, educators as well, we started Museum Ed Voices, where museum educators shared some of their experiences. And we ran it through 6 months, and then it's still up, but we're no longer activating it. But when I teach museum studies, I send my students to that site to find out what museum education is about.
Oh,
You had a
interesting.
great you had a great story, Ryan. I mean, just reading what the educators shared was it was so moving and great. I loved your story.
Well, I tend to not. I'm not always positive, so I was happy that people enjoyed it. I mean, it was one of my first experiences, and yes, I got hit by someone on my tour.
Well, yeah, share it with people so they can hear the story.
Okay.
If you feel like it, I don't want to
Oh,
put
no,
you on
no,
the spot.
it's more about my level of concentration. So it so I was doing a Robert Gober exhibition, who is an installation artist, kind of came into prominence in the 90s. And he had done an exhibition where he's a queer artist, but he uses a lot of religious symbolism, uh, but but queers it, kind of makes you have a new relationship to it. So I was excited about it. It was very cutting edge. It was at the MoCA, at the Geffen Contemporary, which is part of MoCA LA. And it was my first tour, and I was all excited because I had been trained in the inquiry method, which is, asking questions to get people to look at art and to look at it and interpret it their own way. So I was like, here I go. I'm so excited. And so the first day that this exhibition opened, there was already some writing about it, a review about it, but it was through the Christian, a Catholic periodical or journal, and it was basically saying that Gober was anti-religious and was was terrible. The work was obscene and sacrilegious. I mean, he did have in the middle of his installation, there was this. It was obviously a cement casted bust, a cement casted figure of Virgin Mary, but it had a drainage pipe piercing through her abdomen. It didn't look painful. It just looked like it happened to be there. It was more surrealistic. So, but what's amazing about it is when you look through the drain pipe, it lined up with a view of water coming downstairs, which then emptied into a drain in the floor. And that drain in the floor, when you look down into it, had all these different scenarios. One of the artist's legs and the legs of a baby that he was
Mm.
holding in tide pools. And it was amazing because there was like some kind of lighting effects in the installation. I mean, watching them build this installation was like amazing because they had to build into the ground to create a whole subterranean world with fake tide pools all cast out of wax and fill it with water and create these lighting effects that looked like the sun and shadows of birds and stuff flying over the water, and it was amazing, but anyway, in the long run, I was very hyped up on it, super excited, ready to conquer the world with my questions to lead people down, thinking it was going to be a positive thing. And then, of course, these protesters started coming into the museum when they opened the doors. We had no idea. We just knew that we were supposed to go and talk to people and smile and get them excited. And part of it was going up to people and saying hello and asking them what they think of the art. So I got there was an older lady, and I thought, well, she's like my, grandma. She looks super sweet. She's, I don't feel threatened. I'm not going to be rejected. So I went up to her and I was like, oh, what do you think of the show? And she was very quiet about it. And then I said, well, when you look at this work, how does it make you feel, And she just looked at me and I was like, uh-oh, and then she punched me in the stomach.
Oh my God, you must
So
have been shocked, Ryan.
I was shocked, and then I realized it was a really succinct answer, because really what it came down to is she was having me feel what she felt the Virgin Mary was feeling by having
Uh-huh.
a drainage system in her stomach. So I felt like she did communicate to me. It wasn't the way I wanted. I said, okay, and I turned around and I went back to the desk, and I was like, I don't know about this museum education thing. I'm going to go back to, what was I doing before? I'm going to go back to being working in an art office, putting stamps on visas for exchange students.
Well,
So,
that is an incredible story.
but it was, and then I started to understand, well, it really is about how you ask the question.
Yeah.
And asking a feeling question right away in a controversial exhibition was really not the thing. So I ended up realizing that maybe I might have not been charming enough to change her mind. And a lot of people didn't want their minds changed. I mean, what we're talking about is still some of the repercussions of the culture wars that happened in the early 90s. Even going into the late 90s, religious people were really upset with culture, with what was happening in the arts, and wanted to battle it, and they felt like that was a terrain that they needed to protest against. And now we've got masks, so people can protest against masks. No, not anymore. I mean, thank God that's over, but I don't know. People are crazy. The thing when people tell me that art isn't political, I'm always like, I remember that, situation. Art was definitely political in that situation. So, but being a gallery educator was really an amazing experience. And I think it helped me just feel more comfortable to be a person, Oh, do we lose Paula? I scared her away. That sometimes happens, folks. We're talking, and then before I know it, they're gone. All right, well, let's see. We can get. Oh, your phone overheated. Oh, no. Well, Paula, I think we're at our end. So, well, Paula, thank you for joining me. Folks, never expect a very slick kind of presentation here. It's all just about whatever happens, and improvisation. So thanks, Paula, for joining. It was great talking with you. We'll have to do it again. And please, everybody, check out Paula's Instagram. It's P.S. Stuttman. And we're going to continue on with next week. Friday will be Drew Dossett, and he is an interesting guy. He's in Australia right now, so I'm hoping to get him when he gets back, and maybe we'll find out about his trip. So thanks again for joining. And thank you,
Hey,
Paula.
sorry about that, Ryan. My phone overheated. I didn't even know what happened. It was an emergency, and it shut down.
Okay, well, I don't want it to blow up. But thanks again.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for sharing that story. That's one story.
Yeah, maybe it blew a fuse. Maybe it was just too hot. Too hot of a story. Anyway, and thank you, everybody who joined us tonight. I appreciate you being there, listening, doodling, just taking the time to do something that feels creative for you or relaxing for you. Someone had said that this doodle thing is therapeutic. I don't necessarily always believe that. I actually think that doodling is a way for us to bring more imagination into our life. And I'm hoping that that is something that can help us all get through times of uncertainty.
And it's kind of a nice way of being together. And I agree with you, getting through these times.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just keep doing it, right? So we'll all
Yes.
just keep doing this.
Mm.
And have a great weekend, everybody. And if you can, go out and barbecue. Have a great night and a great weekend. And thank you again, Paula.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Sorry for
Sure.
the tech problems.
All right.
See you later.
Bye. Oh, now people are coming in. Sorry, folks. Game's over.